All right, welcome back. As I told you, this week is another Chambers week, which means the judges will be off. They have to get CLE credit. We do too, which is continuing legal education, and you got to have it. They usually plan it for sometime in September. This year it was in October. But I did get a question. So even though we don't have some cases to report on, here was the question. It was basically, how has the cases changed from when you took over? I started at this job in 1998, and I took over as the elected at the very end of 2012. So beginning of 2013, 10 years ago, 11 years ago. But I've been in it for 25 years. And the biggest change is everything that basically we get in, I have to turn over to the defense attorney so that he can sit down with the defendant and they can see why he has been charged. If you've ever watched My Cousin Vinny, Joe Pesci come back and says, I've duped the prosecutor into turning over his whole case file. That's discovery. That's what we do. We get it from the police and then we turn it over. Now what we used to get from the police on a little old B&E auto or something like that might be 10, 12 pages. Part of it's the bond paperwork, but the file wouldn't be, a half-inch thick. It would say on this date, so-and-so did such and such, broke into a car. In the last maybe 10 years, 8, 5, something, it feels time gets away from you. But with the advancement of body-worn cameras, now that's part of the discovery. The advancement of cell phones, it feels like that has been, cell phones have been around forever, but they really haven't. When I started, there wasn't cell phones. Tracking cell phones, dumping cell phones, all of that mess. What you're doing is dumping basically a computer. You've heard over and over, there's more technology on one of those cell phones than it took to get the Apollo to the moon. And that's true. I mean, it really is a small computer. So those same cases now that come in, relatively small, easy to work cases, may have 1 or 2 body-worn cameras and may have 5,000 pages of cell phone stuff. So what was that thick of a file now could be that thick of a file. And we got to go through all of that stuff because we have to redact it and make sure that we're not sending out people's personal information, make sure that we're not sending out victims' names or social security numbers or witness addresses. So somebody's got to go through all that mess and take part of it out. That's one place that technology hasn't really caught up, but hopefully it will be soon. It would seem simple enough to me to create a program to where it takes out every social security number, every birth date, That way we wouldn't have to worry about missing some of those. But maybe that's around the corner. Right now, all of that's got to be gone through. We got to make sure it's cleaned up before we send it to the defense attorney, because the defense attorney generally makes a copy of the discovery and gives it to the defendant. And I don't for a minute worry about defense attorneys taking this stuff and creating credit cards in somebody else's name. But once it gets out to a person that's accused of committing theft, then those guys could go out and sell the same information. We've seen that happen. They sell discovery to other inmates. sell their own discovery to other inmates. So there's a lot to it. That has been one of the biggest changes. Not so much in a B&E auto, but think about in terms of a murder. You may have 4 detectives standing over a dead body walking through a house. All 4 of them's got on body-worn cameras. They stay in there just maybe an hour and 15 minutes apiece. That is 5 hours of videotape if you watch all of them. 5 hours is the better part of a day. And that's all you've done is watched everything for them standing around there from different angles. So it's a much, much tougher thing. You think back to Heather Elvis, that was a whole room full of stuff, probably at least 80,000 documents. Brittany Drexel was several roomfuls of stuff. Most of it was tower dumps. If you dump a cell phone tower, every phone that passed through that during that time is listed in the cell tower. So it's just massive amounts of stuff that really you got to weed through, but it still comes down to 1 or 2 or 15 lines of why you believe a person did it. Instead of going through 100 lines to find that 15 lines, now you got to go through 50,000 lines to find. So that has been the biggest change. The good part that has come from body-worn cameras is the allegations of police misconduct has plummeted. There was a time that people would say, oh, he touched me improperly, oh, he did this, he did that, he was mean to me. Now all you got to do is cut on the camera and all of that goes away. And I promise you that part has plummeted because people make up stuff. Some of it's true, but you got to wade through all of that stuff that was not true. Now you get to see it and determine for yourself. But it does come as a huge expense. And it comes at an expense to keep it. So, but that's a topic for another day, the preservation of evidence. We just talked about discovery today, and that's bad enough. But yeah, it has, to say that it's multiplied by 4 would be too small of an amount. It's many, many times over. And that's just happened in the last few years. Hope y'all have a great week, and we'll see you next week when court resumes.